Yeah, so we were just discussing practice, and I was raising the point of keeping one's path as clear as possible to be able to keep the focus on practice, and in terms of work and jobs and things that people need to do in order to survive, but then keeping a balance of that in terms of dealing with certain people you need to deal with in order to make money, and to support oneself. So I was saying, what is the most important thing in order to keep one's practice going and to keep the path clear?
Well, you have to know that you created it all. It's all you. It all comes from you. This is what you created. So you have to use it. It's not like somewhere else or something else. You came from your mother's womb, right, into this universe. So it's part of your creation. This is the world that you were born into that is your own. So everything is part of your ownness. Okay? And that helps to be responsible for both what it is and then what it doesn't need to be because of what it is. So if it's bad, let's call it bad for now, and say, no, it doesn't need to be bad. See? Because then you have to think, what is it beyond bad? Right? What are the things that would make it better, right? That's in you. You have to make it better. And so you pick and choose, as a result, what works for you, the individual, or not, because you have the ability to do that. Because part of your being is not the karma. Part of your being is what we could call, theoretically, the spirit-soul factor. Some would call it, in certain teachings, emptiness factor. Everything is empty, not really existing inherently. It just is. Everything is the is. So you have to think of that. All the friends, all the people, all of the scenery, all of the karma of your life is the is. It's part of the is. But as the is, what do you need to change? Because it is, what? Empty. How do you recreate it so that, so to speak, you get a certain amount of fullness from it for yourself? See, rather than thinking otherwise, that, you get this, you get the problem mind. No, you have the solution mind. You are the solution to your problems, which you created by being born into this situation. So it's your thing to master, see, like your composition. This is your composition, or decomposition. It might need to be decomposed and then recomposed, which is all part of the process of having the ability to transform what appears into what it needs to be for real.
Mm-hmm.
To begin with. Comment.
Yeah, I was mentioning that I was noticing that I was getting taken out by too many other people, and that my happiness is when I'm working on music and able to practice and keep the focus and move things forward with that. And then there's certain people that work, and they're easier to work with than others. But yeah, the main thing is keeping that focus, and keeping the path clear and the energy up.
Keeping what focus?
The focus on mastery.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah, that means there's no problem. See, the key to mastery is that there's no problem to begin with. See, no problem to solve to begin with, even though we are overwhelmed by what appears to be, the world of problems and issues. That's not your truth. That's your environment that you created. You're born into it. But that's not your truth. That is, what appears is not all there is. What it is beyond what appears. You have to be prepared for that. See? You have to be in touch with that. See? And so that means you have to be away from the stimulation and the aggravation of the karma you created for yourself in the form of what your life work is or whatever it is. Because that's not all there is. Where did that come from? Where does that come from? And then we go to the emptiness factor, see, which has more to do with the radiance of light that enables you to be what you're being, to include all the problems. See, in other words, you might have to accept that all your problems are your light. This is your light, this planet, and all the problems of it. That's our light. That's here to enlighten us, to awaken us, see, to liberate us, see, from what it is, appearing to be. Ultimately, all of the material is ultimately light, but we're not resonating with it from that viewpoint. See, we just see the obvious materialism of it and hear it, the physical. But where's the physical come from? See, what's the source of the physical that we must be in order to have the physical?
Yeah, how important is clearing certain karma on the path of mastery or enlightenment?
In what sense?
Well, you were talking about not creating any problems. So how does one get to that place of no problem?
Well, there's no problems to begin with, you see. Now we're going back to the confounding aspect of the conversation. See, the original emptiness of everything, the non-existence of everything is something solid, see, which we make solid, so we suffer it. It's not solid, you know. It's a mind form then. Because when we talk about the gurus and the lamas and the enlightened person, you can be telling them, well, what about this? And they'll say, that doesn't exist. So what about this tree? And they'll say, don't walk into it, that's all. You know, don't create it, see. In other words, we're going back to the original. See, when we're talking about clearing, you have original clearance. You have to access your original clear lightness, ozul. You are that. Without it, you couldn't do anything. See, so the idea is not to be, let's say, deluded in a certain way. That your destiny is to be in the karmic world, suffering karmic people and karmic problems. That is true up to a point, but it's not the truth. See, so it's true in terms of the appearance. That is what is true. But when you look at it from the point of view what the inner essence is, it's not true. Everything is to be recreated in the spirit of the light. How you do that? Sometimes you need to study. You need to find out what the technology is. And for that we go to spiritual teachings and spiritual training, see, to get access to a clearer view of what it is that is being talked about concerning who we actually are as sources of emptiness, awareness, instead of problem machines, which we can be, but that's not, you know, that's not it. See, that's beside the point. See, we can be it. What do we suffer that we need to go deeper because of, in order to free ourselves from whatever that is? See? We suffer emotions, we suffer attachments, we suffer anger, we suffer confusion, lack of understanding, ignorance, all of these things we suffer, right? And they're all obstructions, see, to space. infinite light, space. And then people say, oh, well, we have to work and we have to do that. Yeah, that's part of it. But the infinite light of space is never not there. It's for you to know what it is to be with it all the time. Otherwise, only you are there. Your problem. In other words, you are your problem. You have to stop being your problem to you. Right? And that means getting caught up in the world of appearances to the degree where you suffer, being out of touch with the light beyond the appearance of the problem. So we're talking about the light source of everything that appears. You are the light source of everything that appears, my man. It's up to you to be one with that. See? Existing clearance. It's like the no problem. Right? No self, no thought, no mind, no world, no image equals no problema. That's simple. Very good. Shoot.
We were discussing earlier on the porch when we were talking the importance of keeping the spiritual out front. Can you talk about what that might look like?
Well, the spiritual is always out front. In fact, it's the most out frontness. We're talking about the spatial aspect of consciousness is related to the spiritual, the light itself. It's always present. See, it's always present. See, so then practice then is about being in tune with that. See, because it's not like something you go after. It already is. You don't have to search for it. Look under the rocks, your clothes, your closets. Man, it's here somewhere. It's got to be. Go crazy looking for what's not there in that way. It's present. It's already here. This is the spiritual source of spirit, soul, nature, Buddha nature, Christ consciousness. This is the livingness of it. The trees are part of it. Nature, the universe is part of it. It's not something to look for. It's something to sort of like understand. Is all there is. It's the all there is. Silence. Soul awareness. Silent soul awareness. Awareness of peaceful silence. That is then representative of this clear lightness, right? Ozone, out of which, we'll call it the matrix or the mother, out of which comes everything appearing. See? Everything that is appearance. See? Because then we are owning our sourceness of the everything that is. We are the origin. Original. Let's say the heart is the origin. No, origin of everything that is, was, and will ever be. Even better. Shoo.
Yeah, so on the notion of, we were talking about keeping the spiritual out front, and I was asking, is practice in itself enough to do that, or should it be, do people need to talk about the teacher, or talk about studying Dharma, or is it just a result of how somebody is practicing?
Well, all of it is practice. Right? Your breathing is practice. Your thinking is practice. See? So your heart beating is practice. Your brain waves are part of the practice. You see? So there's nothing that is not practice. Everything is practice. Life is practice, you see. This is the practice. So then we're talking about, well, is there more to just life? And we say, well, it's a spiritual resonance that you meditate towards. See, you meditate towards it. You put your mind into this, as we were calling it earlier, emptiness, selflessness mode of consciousness. Because we are that. See, we are the clear, the also. So we slip into the mode of selflessness. And you're not concerned about anybody else and everybody else. Right? We're here in the garden here with the trees. It's perfect, right? The rocks, the grass, the bugs, right? The sun, the elements here, the blue sky. This is perfection for now. See, until, some other karma comes in, runs us off the land, and so on. Then you deal with that. Then it's about adjusting to that. Not because that's practice or not practice, that's because that's a situation that you have to sort of intuit into going beyond the suffering of. We say, oh, now I know why. These people are attacking us or loving us. You understand it. Cause and effect, understanding is part of this process. And how we create, what we create, and so on is part of it. It's a small part of it. The idea is the harmony of the inner peace that is the, let's say, spiritual side of this, which has to do with enlightenment, realization equaling liberation from suffering. A theory, maybe? Yeah. Good theory? So it is what it is. Comment now in terms of your original question.
Yeah, so it seems, I mean, like you were saying, it's all practice. So if somebody is practicing and, it just becomes a part of them, becomes part of the speech. You don't necessarily need to say.
When you're not suffering other people, that's good practice. Mm-hmm. When you are suffering other people, then that's a practice of suffering other people. When you realize there are no people to suffer, yet everyone is everyone. The earth is the earth, the planets are the planets, the universe is the universe. Then that's a good space to be in. Everything is everything. And so there's nothing, no one there to suffer but whatever you suffer. If you suffer, or you find to be peaceful, relaxed, open, gone. Good word, gati, gone, beyond, just here. That's meditation. Just here. Only just here. Good practice. And everything else comes in, people come in, things to do, places to go to, it's all part of the same. Being in the clear light and doing whatever the karma dictates as part of the machinery of your time-space existence on this planet. Dictates.
Why is it so difficult for people to give up their programs and blood tendencies?
They believe them. They believe them. They believe that they are real. And they are, relatively speaking, real. So they believe that they are those programs, which they are, in a sense. Those are blood programs. So that's part of the machinery that you need to acknowledge is what your creation is in this life, and then it has to be what you transcend and go beyond to liberate yourself from these creations of the blood, see, against the freedom of the soul as such. Comment.
So then you would say practice is about learning how to not believe, or how to be free of the burden of believing.
practice and becomes non-grasping, not clinging, not clinging to things, ideas, people, and the world, not clinging to it. See? So then it's just a clear light. What's at the root of every appearance and everything. See, self, image, thought, mind, right? Thing, body, thing, world, thing. It's also. Some people would say, well, that's God or that's Buddha. See, that thing is spirit. See, yeah. Call it what you want. It is what it is. And it's ultimately nothing and no one. And you have to reconcile that. And if you can't while you're awake, then you have to deal with the mystery of what you are when you go to sleep that you can't touch. You don't know. Yeah. There's also what's taking care of you when you're asleep. It's not yourself. It's not your family particularly. It's also. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Does astrology have a role in terms of practice?
A role such as what? A role? Purpose?
Yeah, working more towards mastery or enlightenment.
Well, astrology is really about time. See, it's not even about the planets, except that they represent time. See, so the whole thing of astrology is sequentializing, and how the planets represent, to the astronomers, right? The positions, say, the degrees of relationship to one another, in this case. Planets in relationship to each other. Or the sun, the moon, and Mars, Venus, blah, 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 etc. Because we are that, obviously. We're part of that existence. We're not other than it. We are that. We are the sun, we are the moon, we are everything else that we perceive. We are the trees, in this case. It's the heat that we're under right now. We are that. See, we are all of that. We are time, space, energy, matter, and mind all together. And those are perceptions of dimension of consciousness. We are that. And so you use whatever your perception grants you at any time in terms of what your feedback is relative to where you are in the stream of time, space, energy, matter, or mind. Maybe even the God. The God who's gone for the most part, until you're willing to see it for what it is. And always is.
Yeah, we were just discussing astrology in terms of time and someone's time track, but how does it affect what's going on in the world, and more specifically the political situation?
The world is a time track. Right? It's Earth time. See, we are in the Earth time. It's like saying, it's your family. See, your family's a time too. It's a blood time, and each one of us is part of the all of it. It's not, it's not like there's one thing more than the other thing. This is all about it. Depends on what your perception of it is. So it's about time, because it's going to be a 24, a 25, a 26, 2000, 27. And all of that is part. It's not our perception yet, But that's part of it because we know we are in time and that time will come up. Whether the planet is still living in the way that it has been living is a big question at this point because of the relationship the planet has to the sun at this point. Yeah. And so this is about the time relative to planetary systems. See, what time is it for the Earth? Is it time for the Earth to boil up now and explode? go back into the galaxy is in smithereen forms, right, and then reassemble itself somewhere along the line. It's all time. Could happen. Yeah, it's all part of it. So we have time now to consider these things because we're not killing each other yet. We're not, in the bomb sort of sites at this point. So we have some downtime now to consider what we are, what we should be doing, and what the time is that is granted to us to do whatever, is next to do for the individual. See, so this is all part of it. We are in time, and yet we are space beings in time machine bodies. So we are more than aliens. We're way beyond that. So you have aliens come down and you see them gathered around a jazz club and say, did you hear? They're crazy. These are alien people. Scare the aliens away. Shoot.